Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And the Sunrisers Hyderabad have beaten the Gujarat Titans by 8 wickets. A very good win for them. And at one point they were 25 without loss after 5 overs, and I thought they were creating a bit of scoreboard pressure for themselves. And after being 11 without loss after 4 overs with Rashid Khan and Lockie Ferguson still to bowl, you would have thought that the Titans had the bowling resources to compound the effects of that slow start. But in the end, after that fourth over, SRH got these runs quite easily, an 8 wicket win from them. And they were good with bat and ball. With the ball, they restricted the Titans to 162 after them being 118 for 4 after 15 overs. And with the bat, after that sedate start, they really caught up and won this game comfortably in the end by 8 wickets. And the first loss for the Gujarat Titans this season, I thought they were a bit flat this game. They would have wanted to get more than 162 considering the position that they were in. But I still thought they had enough run to defend. I mean, this SRH lineup, yes, they won their previous game, but it's not the most confident lineup in the world, let's be honest. I think that with the way that they started in the previous game and in this game, you thought it was going to be a bit more harder to execute that kind of template with the attack that they were facing and the conditions of the pitch, with the score being slightly higher than what they chased in the previous game. But SRH coping with things really well. And apart from Hardik Pandya and Rashid Khan, not too much to speak about in the bowling performance from the Titans. So they would have been disappointed that they didn't do a better job defending this total. And yeah, SRH winning this game by 8 wickets, quite a good win from them. So around the starting 11s of both teams, two unchanged 11s from their previous games, so not too much to say on that. And Kane Williamson won the toss and chose to bowl first. The first over was quite an erratic one for the most part from Bhuvneshwar Kumar. The first delivery taking the outside edge of Matthew Wade, the ball's moving away from him and going through the third man region for 4. But then bowling two wides which went for boundaries in the same over, and a 17 run over first up really would have the Gujarat Titans wouldn't have minded that at all. And after that, the Bhuvneshwar Kumar really bowled well for his next 3 overs, 20 runs for 2 wickets as well his next 3 overs. And after bowling, I think the most expensive over conceded by an SRH bowler bowling the first over of an innings, he then bounced back really well. And so the first wicket to fall was that of Shubman Gill. And it was a let-off for SRH after getting such a great start. And it was a bit of a lucky dismissal, a half volley that was creamed to Rahul Tripathi, and an outstanding catch it was. I mean, I personally don't think that will be bested this season. And it reminded me of the catch that Jagdisha Suchit took against the Punjab Kings in last year's game at Sharjah. And it was an outstanding catch, a one-handed catch to his left. And so I personally don't think that will be bested for the rest of the season. But with the form that Shubman Gill's been in, especially in the last 2 games, scoring 180 runs at a quite very good strike rate, and very good strike rate, I think that SRH would have been quite happy with that wicket. And Sai Sudarshan walked out to bat, looked good for the first 8 balls that he faced, 11 of 8, but I think he was surprised by the bounce on the delivery of his dismissal from Natarajan. The ball being bowled outside off stump, bouncing more than he expected. I mean, he was trying to play the ball to mid-wicket for maybe a single. In the end, the ball popped up in the air and Kane Williamson caught the catch and made off. So after a 17-run over up front, SRH were getting increasingly into the game. And that 8th over of the innings was quite a lively one. Hardik Pandya being hit on the helmet, and then afterwards, especially the shot that he hit the very next ball, the cover drive was exquisite. Then the pull shot for 4 as well, the ball after that. And at the last ball of the over, Matthew Wade beat him for pace by Imran Malik, 149 kph delivery, wrapping him on the pads, and him being dismissed LBW. Now, he hasn't exactly had the greatest start so far. He had a really good straight drive of Bhuvneshwar Kumar. So, again, he did look good this innings, but I'm saying that because of Wade and Gill being dismissed before the 10th over, I've said before that them two and Hardik Pandya are the players that you'd think would have to create the scaffolding of really to try and post good totals for this team, and also having to capitalize on the end overs. And you still have players to capitalize on the end overs like Miller, Tewatia, Manohar, etc. But especially those 3. But I'm saying that mostly you'd want the three before that said to really set up the total. Now, with two of those being dismissed before the 10th over on a slower wicket and against a disciplined bowling attack, there was an extra onus on Hardik Pandya to bat through in this game, and he's batted really well throughout the tournament in his 4 games. I think his lowest score being 27 out of 4 games is really played well, taking responsibility, batting at number 4. And if you're looking at the players to come after him, the wicket of David Miller was really important, because I know he's only scored 12 or 15, but that partnership lasted for 40 runs. And you'd think after David Miller, there was Tewatia, Manohar and Rashid Khan. None of which you'd say would probably be the type to rescue the team from a precarious situation. The run rate was still good, but still 3 wickets at that time. And that's why David Miller, yes, 12 or 15, but that partnership with Hardik Pandya gave them a bit more leeway, so that Manohar could walk in and still play relatively more positively from that point. And so David Miller was dismissed of the bowling of Marco Jansen, him being cramped up for room and the catch being taken by Abhishek Sharma. Good catch from him. And afterwards, Manohar got 35 of 21. Now, this innings consisted of 3 outside edges, and I wouldn't really say 3 drops, I'd say 2, because the one that Bhuvneshwar Kumar had to take was quite a tough one. And there was a case where I think Marco Jansen was at a deep third man, was actually standing almost behind Kane Williamson if you drew a straight line from the slips position, because of the extra pace of Imran Malik. The ball was going quite quickly through that boundary for 4. So Abhinav Manohar could really take either just poke at the ball outside the off-stump or go for 4, or against Bhuvneshwar Kumar, where he tried to play the pull shot and it went behind square for a boundary. So he did have quite a bit of luck in this innings, but it also had some good shots as well, like the shot through cover of Natarajan. And again, I don't blame him for riding his luck. I think anyone would want that kind of a situation. And 35 of 21, he'd set a good impression against the Super Giants, where he scored 15 of 7. And 35 of 21, albeit a luck-filled innings. And even he admitting that he probably wouldn't have this luck in any of the other games that he plays. I think that it was a nice introduction for him for his IPL career, and it really boosted the Gujarat Titans total. And I think if you look at Hardik Pandya's innings, so it's a case where in especially 3 out of the 4 innings that he's played, after starting well, and especially 2 of them, he has slowed down. And with the first 2 innings that he got, the 230 odds, they were on the slower side. Slowing down in the middle part of the 3rd innings that he played, but even then I think that it's a bit harsh to count that, because again, he didn't really have time to get going as such. But even then he scored 27 off 18. And in this game, after starting off really well for 14 off 9, and albeit batting well in all the 4 games that he's played, he has slowed down a 50 off 42. And they were bowling well to him, 4 fours and a 6 for him, so a lot scored by rotating the strike, and scored most of his boundaries at the start. And a responsible innings from him. They still, without his innings, as I said, they probably wouldn't have got anywhere near this score. But they would have thought that, I know they kind of, also the bowling was good, so they couldn't really fault him too much. And since Manohar was going well at the other end, I guess at that point he was just rotating the strike or trying to get boundaries. But even when he hit singles, Manohar was still getting the boundaries at the other end. So he would have probably wanted to get a bit more for himself at the end, but still a very good innings from him, and 162 for 7. The 22 extras helping quite a bit. 2 leg byes, but 20 wides. Especially on a slower surface, you probably wouldn't want that to be the case at all, because even after the first over, 10 wides being bowled in the innings. And I think that all in all, though, you would have thought at that point, or I certainly thought the Gujarat Titans had enough runs on the board, because this SRH lineup still isn't exactly too convincing in my view. Yes, they won their previous game, but against this attack, I thought that the Titans would have enough to really restrict them. And the bowling figures, for the most part, quite good. I think Bhuvneshwar Kumar, after that first over, came back really well. Marco Jansen, good figures, 1 for 27 in his 4. Washington Sundar was had an injury, I think, none for 14 in his 3. He's been injured for quite a few, quite a few occasions. So I hope that this isn't one of those cases again. So Marco Jansen had to bowl as the extra over that Tsunoda would have bowled, but still 9 for 14 in his 3. Great figures from him. Natarajan 2 for 34 in his 4. I thought he bowled better than what it looks like. And Umran Malik, again, with the extra pace that he gets, yes, the batsman sometimes played some really good shots of him, but the edges fly, and I thought that he also bowled much better than what the card shows. So all in all, a satisfactory bowling performance from SRH, but I think the extras really added quite a few runs to this total. But as we saw, even with the slow start, it wouldn't really matter too much at the end. And so with the Sunrisers batting innings, now I think even against CSK, they got 25 runs off their first 5 overs. And the reason why I thought that in this game it would be much harder for them after doing that is because against CSK, yes, they played really well after that point. I think in the middle overs, there was a combination of the boundaries and also running well between the wickets. And then the shoddy bowling came in the last 10 overs pretty much to give them quite an easy victory. And in this game, you thought that with the likes of Rashid Khan and Lockie Ferguson still to bowl, having that kind of a sedate start would only put them further behind in the game. But and expanding on that, as I've said, I think that CSK attack did not really have any threat at all, especially even on paper. And with the absence of Deepak Chahar, I think that Dwayne Bravo is the only threat on paper, and even he, I didn't really think he bowled too much. And with the spin bowlers that CSK had, you thought they'd get a bit more purchase in the wicket, but SRH managed to get through those fairly easily, and a fairly comfortable win for them. And you thought with this kind of an attack, would it be it would be harder to execute that same template in this game. But I thought the 5th and 6th overs gave them the momentum that they needed. 31 runs off 2 overs. Kane Williamson hitting a 4 and a 6 of Mohammad Shami's first 2 balls in the 5th over. And then 4 boundaries that Abhishek Sharma hit off Lockie Ferguson. Had quite an off day today. The first one being off a half volley. The second one being a slightly wider delivery, and Abhishek Sharma using the pace, just tapping it on the ground, and the ball just going between the fielders. The third boundary a bit unlucky. The length was good, but there was no fielder there. Well played by the batsman. And the 4th one, an outside edge. So 17 runs off that over. And after looking like they wouldn't really get too many in the power play at all, SRH got 41 off the first. The 42 off the first 6 overs. Now, I don't think they should make a habit of this, because the power play in T20 cricket is there to score. And I think when, let's say, if there are on other days where, on most days when you have these kind of slower surfaces, you'd want to capitalize on the power play, because you'd think that would be the easiest time to bat, with the ball being at its most hard and with the fielding restrictions as well. So I don't exactly think this game plan is a good one. There seems to be far too much pressure on Abhishek Sharma if Kane Williamson does take it slow for at least 12 balls in the power play. And Abhishek Sharma also took it slow for a while. And as I said, in the first 4 overs, they only scored 11 runs. So it may trip them up in the future, but in the end, 2 good chases by them, you could say, because they caught up from after that point. But it is still something I think they're going to have to look at. But in this game, after that 4th over, they were pretty much all over the game. The first wicket falling on 64. So just like in the previous game, they really got some good opening partnerships in both these innings. And the wicket of Abhishek Sharma caught off the bowling of Rashid Khan. So Rashid Khan taking a wicket against his former franchise, and him bowling quite well again today, as he always does. 1 for 28 in his 4, and only conceding 2 boundaries. And Hardik Pandya, I thought, was excellent today. Took the new ball and 1 for 27 in his 4. Conceded 2 sixes later on in the piece. That 2-1-6 being a top edge, which went straight over the keeper's head for 6. So pretty much only one shot where you could say was played with that wasn't due to chance out of the 2 boundaries. So I thought he bowled really well. But apart from that, not too much to speak of. And there was a partnership of 40 between Rahul Tripathi and Abhishek Sharma. And Rahul Tripathi, after getting a quick start of 17 of 11, just after hitting that extraordinary six of Rahul Tripathi bowling over cover, I think it looked like cramp, and he retired hurt soon afterwards. And if this wasn't, again, you never thought SRH were going to lose the game from that point, but with the way that he was going and the way that he's gone in his last two games, you thought it was quite a blow. But again, I hope that it's not anything that will keep him out for even one game, because he's integral to this lineup. And I don't think it will be, because it does seem like cramp, although Williams said he wasn't too sure about Washington. So then I also hope that he doesn't really miss a game, or if he has to, then I hope he misses a game at most, because again, he's needed for this franchise as well. So with Tripathi being retired hurt, then a small partnership between Williamson and Nicholas Puran. And Williamson, after scoring 7 off his first 13 balls, he scored 50 of his next, 7 of 13, and then 50 of his next 33. I thought that he really caught up well after that. He wouldn't want to keep on playing, really starting off this slowly in the power play, because if him and Abhishek Sharma do it, whether they have to bat on more sluggish surfaces or have to chase a 200 score, pretend. I know they probably wouldn't do that in the 200 score, but I think that in some cases, yes, you can take the liberty of starting off slow, and even then it is 160s on a sluggish pitch, so you can't take too many liberties. But I think that there should be times when, in these situations, they try to get a few more runs in the power play, according to the situation. Even if they get 42 runs in 6 overs, if they just look to get 7 in every over, for example, it would be better than what they're doing now, which is really focusing on those last 2 overs. If those overs hadn't gone in their way, then this would have really been quite a paltry power play score. And so, yeah, I think that in the end, what was I going to say? So, Kane Williamson's innings, in the end, he caught up 57 or 46. And the ball was in the slot from Hardik Pandya. Should have been hit for 6, but in the end, Williamson being caught at long on. And by that point, you still thought that SRH were going to win the game convincingly. Nicholas Puran, once again, excellent for his 34 of 18. And Aidan Markram scoring 1 boundary in his 12 of 8. So, a fairly routine win for SRH. Yes, you'd think the power play start wasn't ideal, but it hasn't exactly hurt them in these 2 games, so to speak. And that too against an attack like this, who, yes, had an off day a bit, apart from Pandya and Rashid Khan. But SRH should be really confident that we're really happy that they won this game today. And for the Gujarat Titans, apart from Pandya and Rashid Khan, Mohammad Shami wasn't too bad, I thought, but overall conceding 32 runs after 32 runs in his 4 overs. And I think the bowlers that they really took runs off, especially they took off the runs off Lockie Ferguson, none for 46 in his 4. And similar to Nokia in the game against the Lucknow Super Giants, I think that them taking runs off him kind of kept their innings afloat. They didn't really go for the other 3 bowlers too much. Darshan Nalkande, as the inexperience is showing a bit, he gave 22 runs in 2.1 overs today, and Tewati only bowling 1 over for 10. So I think if you're looking at the side, they have 4 bowlers who bowl 4 overs. So we've got Shami, Hardik Pandya, hopefully, Rashid Khan, and Lockie Ferguson. But with their 5th bowler, Darshan Nalkande is fairly inexperienced, so they would want Varun back, and even then he can be expensive in this format. And regarding Rahul Tewatia, they don't use him too often, and he hasn't exactly been too economical so far. I think 34 runs being given in his last 2 overs. And so I think, along with the likes of Varun returning to the side, Vijay Shankar returning to the side in place of Sai Sudarshan. I know he's made a decent start to his IPL career, but I just think that extra bowling option wouldn't hurt, although Vijay Shankar also hasn't exactly been too economical of late. But I still think that at times he can be a good bowling option, especially on slow services. So I think, yes, they've got those 4 bowlers there, but they'd want a bit more from that 5th bowler. So the likes of Arun and Vijay Shankar returning to the side will certainly help them. So a flat performance from the Gujarat Titans, and this is the first loss for them. And let's see how they go in their future games. And for SRH, after losing their first 2 games, I mean, I never thought that this side was as bad as people were making it out to be, and I think that it shows that yes, I still think the batting lineup. I'm still not. I think it has some ways to go. I think that it's fairly top heavy, just like it was in previous seasons. And after Aiden Markram, you've pretty much got Washington Sundar, and that would be it. So I think they'd rely a lot on that top five, as I've said before. I think if you look at four of those, especially with Williamson, Tripathi, Puran, and Markram, rather than expecting the finish from the players at the back end, they would just want one of those four. And with Abhishek Sharma playing this well as well, one of those five to really bat through the innings at a very good strike rate and then capitalize at the end as well. So again, the top five is the way to go for their batting, and it's done really well in their last two games, so good on them. And the next game being the Chennai Super Kings versus the Royal Challengers Bangalore. Now, this game, I think, is happening at the DY Patil Stadium, the same stadium as this one, the same venue as this game also happened in that venue. And so if the conditions are the same, I think that this is going to be an interesting prediction, this one. I still don't think the CSK batting lineup is a bad one by any means. I actually think that overall think that, yes, RCB batting, the batting lineup is good. But I think that I wouldn't mind being in the CS. Again, I think both the batting sides will be fairly confident. As far as the bowling, though, RCB have done quite a bit better than CSK. There is one weakness for RCB, as I said, Siraj and Akashdeep. If they don't bowl in a comfort zone, they do go for runs. And if CSK can make sure that they don't have that comfort zone, then they could be able to capitalize on those 8 overs of the innings if they bowl 8 overs. And Hazelwood will be back in, I'm sure, from tomorrow for tomorrow's game. So Faf Duplessis and Hazelwood coming up against their old franchise. Who do I think is going to win? I think it will be RCB. They beat Mumbai Indians quite easily in their previous game. And with what CSK have shown in their bowling department, again, bowling to this RCB batting lineup, I don't really think too much is going to happen from that. If they play maybe Pretorius and Dwayne Brother together, again, kind of doing that using that change of pace in the middle overs may help them a bit. But I still think that RCB are overwhelming favourites in this game. This isn't the CSK batting I'm worried about, but I just don't think the bowling without Deepak Chahar is really going to do too much to this line. So let's see what happens tomorrow. CSK have pretty much always beat. Well, you could. More often than not, you would tip them to beat RCB, as I said, especially in previous seasons. I just think that mental side of the game in this encounter, CSK just seemed to have. And with whatever explosive side that RCB seemed to boast of going into the game, I think that CSK have pretty much always had an answer, apart from once in the last few years, I think. So I think that, once or twice, and even that, or even one of those being lost by 2 runs, or Ramesh Yadav gave 24 runs rather than 26. So this will be quite a lot different to those encounters. RCB have more things going for, well, again, they've had a much better start to this tournament and look a much better side than CSK this season. It's not the batting I'm worried about for CSK, but it is the bowling. I just don't think they'll have a threat to dislodge the batsmen in this RCB side. So let's see what happens in tomorrow's game. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. Please share this video with your friends. And remember, this is my opinion. What's yours? And another thing, I think this will be my 100th video I'll be uploading on my channel. And I just want to thank those who subscribed and those who generally watch it. I know my channel hasn't exactly got off the ground as such, but I've enjoyed making videos. And I think I started this 2 months before my 18th birthday with some hesitation, and it's really given me a platform to vent my views on the game. And I've posted a video on every game of the IPL so far, and I've enjoyed posting every video that I've posted on my channel, and I'll certainly be doing that for a long time. So thanks a lot for watching my videos. I know it hasn't exactly got off the ground yet, my channel, but even the little support I'm very happy for, so thank you for that.